Hi Roger, thought I would give you a video tour of my shop. It's my truck. I'm going to be changing the headlights on it soon. It's Mom's little teardrop trailer. It's a cement slab outside. That's where Dad likes to keep his unexploded ordnance up there. A little sculpture from a friend, my big metal vise. And here we go. As usual, it's a shop, so it's a mess. Over here's the wood side. Little barrel of scraps. One workbench. This is my thickness sander. I'm building some amp cabinets, so I'm taking the panels down to thickness with that. There's the joiner, chop saw station, glues, polishes, clamps, whatnots. There's the little bandsaw. This little cutie. And my little Dremel setup. Wood vise, arbor press. Got an English wheel, which I've never used. I kind of want to play around with that. Dad never used it either. Little coastal drill press, which Dad bought when I was 10. Still working. The ugly little 1-inch belt sander, Grizzly item. This one's the money. I use this thing all the time. I got a big 12-inch disc and a 6-inch flat, which is really nice. Dust collection system, very important. So my spaghetti piping to the various machines. Got it plumbed up and over to go down for when I set up the thickness sander. I can hook it up like you see, and then also my oscillating drum sander hooks up to that as well. Another very useful tool. Here's the 1956 Delta Unisaw that Dad bought in Canada when we were there. I recently replaced the bearings in the motor and trying to get the arbor to run real true so I can cut fretboards. Here's a couple of projects I'm working on. This is going to be an electric mandolin. I actually cut this body out at GW from some plastic that I had when I was there, and I've been carrying it around ever since. Finally time to get it started. Here's a neck for a mandolin that I'm working on that's gluing up to get shaped. It's another ukulele that my dad made years ago, and I had to do some work, change the tuners, and make this little tie block for the strings down at the tail. This is a little amp cabinet that I'm working on. It's going to be a little 10-inch speaker guitar amp kit. I got this other one. Here's a stainless steel body that's going to get turned into a guitar at some point. And I have these panels that I cut out for a larger amp, and I did some wood burning, which was pretty cool. Took a neon sign transformer, and you do just a saltwater solution, kind of paste that on the board, drive a nail in on each end, hook the thing up, turn the power on, and watch the fractals form. And let's see, so yeah, various woods and stuff, and parts, more parts and tools, and more stuff. And over here we get to the metal side. So this is just a metal cabinet for material storage, sandblaster, used primarily for etching the designs on stuff like these stencils that Dad would put on some of the instruments. See if that comes out. Things like that. It's pretty cool. And my little oxyacetylene setup down there. And here's my buffers and sanders. Nice, real nice Baldor buffing setup that Dad made. It's pretty good. This one's a bump start. You gotta grab the thing and yank it. Start capacitor long since died. And here's my press. I think it's a 12-ton. And air compressor. Here's my 60-inch metal shear. Very handy. And here's my finger brake. Also very handy. And that's Dad's toolbox, and you can see the slip roll behind it there. Don't really use that all that much. Here's the notcher. This is quite a nice thing, super useful for making the cone trays. I notch strips of brass that I anneal and then bend into the desired shape. Then here's a punch station. I tried for years when I was at the lab. They had a bunch of Rotex punches, which are those rotary stations with all the sizes already preloaded. And they would go up for auction now and then. I bid on every one. I must have bid on 12 of those over the 4 years that I was there, and never was able to get one in a price that Dad and I were willing to pay. Someday, but it works. It's just more work to set it up for each size. Here's the Bridgeport. Not sure what year. It's a good machine. It's got power for the X and the Y, which is nice, and digital readout, of course, which is nice. No ball screw, but that's okay. And more material, clamps. And over here is the CNC machine. So this is a Haas TM1 tool room mill. It's pretty good. It's got a coolant pump, which is unfortunately on the bench broken right now. It just is stuck, the impeller. It's a long story, but anyway, it's a good machine. It's about 30 inches in the X, and unfortunately only effectively about 12 7/8 in the Y. I wish I had a little bit more, but that's all I got. You can see I was making some little bezel things for a pickup for an electric that I was working on. And it's got a tool changer, 12 tools, which is pretty good. It's unfortunately, Dad had two options when ordering this, to have either a BT40 or a CAT40 spindle. And why he chose BT40 is beyond me. BT40 is the European version of CAT40, and thus harder to get over here and more expensive for the holders, whereas CAT40s have been around forever and all that. And you know that CAT40s, it was Caterpillar company that developed those tapers back in the day, and that's why they got it named after them. Check station, 4-job, faceplate, and my little collet thing, collet closer deal, some of the collets, whatnot. Here's my lathe. Nothing special. It's, it's a Jet Taiwanese thing, but it's good for what it does. You can make good parts once you learn its oddities. It's got a Travidile, which is so nice. That is really good, and also has this nice stop that has a micrometer feed on it, so you can set it. It does pretty good. It repeats within a thousandth if you're careful with what you're doing. And then here's my little power hacksaw. I love this thing. This thing's really great. So that's for cutting material down and whatnot. And there's a roll-up door to the outside. There's my pedestal tool grinder, one of them. Here's my TIG machine and my MIG machine, which I have yet to wire up. Just got to get there. Here's my flammables cabinet, an old refrigerator. I don't know if it's really up to OSHA standards, but does the job. And I got a little cutoff wheel for hardened material, it's very nice. And an AccuFinish for really fine tool sharpening. These things are really great. They're low speed, really safe to use, and just give a beautiful polish to your tools. And it's really impressive, the surface finishes you can get with that, even on manual machines. And my big old bandsaw, love this. Old Dual, came out of a Boeing factory. This thing was great. It's got a tilting table, which I've never employed. I'm actually thinking of retrofitting the original fence from the table saw to be a resaw fence for this, so I can cut these boards down into panels. I'm going to be doing that for that amp project. And cabinet full of tooling. Years ago, there was a machinist that had passed away, and his widow was getting rid of his stuff. He was an old tool and die maker, and he made all kinds of tooling, vices, machine grinding vices, and just tons of sets of parallels. And I'll take you through every drawer, but there's a whole lot there. Some of the instrument tooling, different forms for getting the side shapes and the body shapes. cover plates, all that. More tooling, cutters, whatnot. More cabinets. And we'll go upstairs. So it's kind of messy over here. I've been living in the house since Dad got sick. I moved in there to be on hand to help out. So the living space here has kind of been neglected. This is the music room. There's a tricone lap steel that my dad made a while back. This one's his very first guitar, which is basically a copy of a National O style. And there's the Royce Smack, awaiting its case. My electric. There's a hammer dulcimer that my dad made years ago. Books. There's the shipping station. Kind of a mess. There's where I do my CAD work. Old computer. I have a cracked copy of SolidWorks 2004 and Mastercam 9 on there. So this computer, which is running Windows XP, has no Wi-Fi capability whatsoever, so it can't rat me out. And yeah, that's about it. And maps, the skylights. Yeah. Anyway, thought you would enjoy the tour. Take care.